Flying golems, yeah! Woo! Hello everybody, Dr. Darok here, and today we are doing a full mod review of the Botania mod by mod developer Vazkii, whom you can follow on Twitter here, and you can support on Patreon here. So, this mod has been in development for just over a year, since January 14th of 2014, and basically it's a magic tech mod based on nature, where you create magical flowers and devices using natural power of the earth in the form of mana. Now, basically, the majority of the world spawn is these 16 mystical flowers, one for each color of dye in Minecraft, as you may be able to surmise by the just simply by the numbering. However, if you are on a world that was spawned already and these haven't spawned around the world, or let's say you're playing on a server and all the mystical flowers have been gobbled up by other players, you can actually use this floral fertilizer, which is created. You can create it using 2 rose red, 2 dandelion yellow, and 1 bone meal in a shapeless recipe to create floral fertilizer. And boom, just like that, you can get yourself some mystical flowers in case you haven't got any. Now, after you have yourself some mystical flowers, of course, you can get started with the rest of the mod. It's pretty much a requirement to do anything else. The basic thing you can do with mystical flowers is pull their petals off, as you can see here, and they each have a color of petal that is, related to their dye, so there's 16 colors of petals in all. You can also create a pestle and mortar, just like this, which you can use to grind those petals into powders which act like dyes. So, for example, I could take some of this yellow powder here, and I could come over here and make a big yellow number 7 or something on this wall using this, just like that. So yeah, although that doesn't look very much like a number 7. My pixel art isn't too great, but, same thing actually applies to carpet, so I could come around here and, put some color on the carpet after it's been placed down. Unfortunately, the recipe for floral fertilizer doesn't work if you mix, say, regular flower materials and floral powder, which the only way to use it out of regular flower materials is with this exact shapeless recipe, 2 rose red, 2 dandelion yellow. It doesn't work in other combinations either. So yeah. Oh, one more thing you can do with the flower petals, you can actually plant them in the ground, and they'll emit a very faint light as well as a sparkle. So you can use them, say, to mark paths on the ground, for example, or something else like that. Now, the most basic, one of the first things you're going to want to make in Botania is going to be the Lexica Botania. Boom, just like this. And it is made very simply with just a book and any type of vanilla Minecraft tree sapling. I do believe it's any type. Let's double check here. Yeah, any type of vanilla Minecraft tree sapling. And the Lexica Botania actually will include all the information that you need on the mod. And as a matter of fact, the Lexica Botania is organized so well that I used it as the basis for the outline for my mod review. So yeah, the next thing we're going to look at is the Petal Apothecary. And the Petal Apothecary is made just with cobblestone and a mystical petal. And basically it's like this whenever you place it in the world, and you can put water in it. So you can right-click on it with the bucket, but that's boring. You can also just throw the bucket in there, and it'll take the water out of the bucket and leave the bucket on the ground for you. You can also take it, once you've done that, and throw vines in there to give it this viney look. Or, if you don't like water, it has one alternative use. You can fill it with lava and use it to burn up items, use it as a brazier. So, but its main purpose is to craft new flowers out of flower petals and seeds and potentially other ingredients. Now, the most basic one and the first one that you're going to need to make in order to progress any farther, oh, look at that. That's so cool. Love the way this works. Basically, you're going to need to put 4 white petals in here and then vanilla Minecraft seeds, and you're going to get a pure daisy. Now, the pure daisy is vital, and it is essential to moving on in the mod for the most part. Basically, what you're going to need to do is take a pure daisy and plant it somewhere that is near wood blocks or stone blocks. And after a short period of time, this pure daisy will actually purify nearby wood blocks and stone blocks into living wood and living rock. Now, living wood and living rock can be made into several different basically just cosmetic varieties, although they are sometimes used in different recipes, for example, but they're all very easy to make. The glimmering living wood is a little bit different. It's made by putting glowstone dust with living wood in the crafting recipe. Actually, let me show you, just like that. And there isn't a glimmering living rock, but there is living rock bricks, and I think that these look great. There's even framed living rock brick, and I think that looks really good too. But I'm still waiting for this thing to go. I want to, show you that working before we move on. But basically, you want to take living wood next and make yourself this, which is the Wand of the Forest. Now, I'm going to start covering the mechanics of what that does here shortly. But basically, you need 2 living wood like this to make a living wood twig. You're going to need 3 of those and 2 mystical petals of any color. Oh, I just heard the blocks change in order to create your Wand of the Forest. Now, do I have a... Oh, I haven't got a crafting table. That's all right. I was going to just create different... See, as you can see, turned into living rock and living wood. I could then mine these, place down new stone or wood if I wanted to around that pure daisy, and, come back next time it had regenerated. Now, I am just going to use this Wand of the Forest because I've already got it. The next thing that you want is going to be what's called a diluted mana pool. You make that with 5 blocks of living rock, and it looks just like this whenever you place it on the ground. Now, for the time being, it doesn't have much use until you get to the next block, which is going to be the mana spreader. Now, the mana spreader has an internal buffer of mana, and basically it shoots bursts of mana through the air to blocks which can receive and store mana. Now, this right here is the daybloom. I'm going to go over that in just a moment, but basically for now what you need to know is that the daybloom generates mana, which means that this daybloom is filling up this mana spreader with mana. Now, if I take my Wand of the Forest and look at the daybloom, you can see that the mana spreader there gets highlighted. That's because the two are linked, because this is supplying mana to this block. All right, now if I right-click on the daybloom, this bar will actually show me the status of its internal mana buffer. And as you can see, it's actually full right now, as is the mana spreader, because right now it's not, it doesn't have anywhere to put that mana. So let's see here. Let me make sure it's in. Okay, so basically what you want to do, you can aim these mana spreaders if they're not pointing the direction you want them to by holding shift and right-clicking on a given face. And basically the side of the face the part of the face that you click on is where the very back of the block orients to. So let's say I want to, aim towards that. I want to click like here-ish or so. Did that work? No, it's too far down. Actually, I want to click like here. Oh, hold shift. There we go. And there. And as you can see now, it's like this. You can see that there's, when I hover over this, that block, the diluted mana pool over there, gets highlighted, and that's because it's currently filling that diluted mana pool. Now, I can hold right-click on this to constantly update, but basically this only fires a burst whenever it gets to a certain threshold of fullness. So in order to fill this diluted mana pool, I might need to get myself a couple more dayblooms. And let's say, what about, basically I'm going to go over the basic generating flowers. So this is daybloom, and this is nightshade. And basically, daybloom you make in the Petal Apothecary, just like this. Oh, orange, and blue. There we go. So I'm going to come over here and throw these guys in here just like that, and there's daybloom. Now, you'll make nightshade just the same way, except with different series of petals involved, and that'll make nightshade. Basically, daybloom passively produces mana from sunlight. It feels kind of reminiscent of perhaps being inspired by Plants vs. Zombies, maybe, the sunflower and the way it works, but maybe not. Could be inspired by any number of things. Now, the nightbloom... Oh, hang on. Let me go grab some nightbloom, of course. So I'm gonna grab this nightbloom and maybe another, or nightshade, I mean to say, and maybe another daybloom. I can't believe I've just been calling it nightbloom. I've got notes right here. I'm like looking at notes. I see it called nightshade like in front of my face, and I call it nightbloom. Very weird. Now, another thing is that these flowers can actually link to the mana spreader from quite a distance, up to 6 blocks away. As you can see, if I hover over this with my wand... Oh, wait, it didn't link up to that mana spreader. Hang on, let me, maybe one less block. Still didn't link up to that mana spreader. I'm a little confused here, because this was linking up to the mana spreader. Oh, it's linking up to this mana spreader because it's closer. Ah, I understand. So basically, once you place a plant down, it'll pick a mana spreader that is closest to it, and it will bind itself to that mana spreader. So if I wanted to do what I was trying to do there, I might need to get rid of this guy. Well, doesn't matter. Point being that right now, what you want to do to begin is get enough mana in this mana pool to take your another diluted mana pool, right, and throw it in there. Yeah. Oh, I missed. I'm a bit of a weakling. Forgive me. And you'll see that it's infused with mana and transformed into a different mana pool. Now, this mana pool is considered to be the regular standard mana pool. There actually isn't a more powerful one currently other than the creative mana pool. It can hold 100 times as much mana as the diluted mana pool and can also be used to infuse mana into items other than a diluted mana pool. And basically, items you can infuse mana into include the ender pearl, iron ingot, diamonds, any of the mystical petals, cookies, and regular default Minecraft glass. Now, you throw in the ender pearl, you'll get back a mana pearl. Throw in the iron ingot for mana steel, diamonds into mana diamonds, mystical petals into mana petals, cookies into mana cookies, and glass into managlass. Now, these are all important materials for various different recipes that you're going to be performing as a botanist throughout your progression in this mod. Now, mana steel, just like any other material, can obviously be made into a number of tools. They are about equivalent to iron in terms of efficiency and damage protection, a little bit better in terms of durability. But if you've got a source of mana in your inventory, they'll actually consume mana rather than taking durability damage. And that goes for, I do believe it's all of the metals introduced in this mod, so just keep that in mind going forward. Now, we've learned about the creation of plants in a basic sense, and we've learned about the very basics of moving and controlling and spreading mana. For the most part, we are done with the basic mechanics of the Botania mod, but there are just a few more things that we want to go over before we move on. I want to go over 2 more basic ways of generating mana with generator Flora, which are going to be the endoflame, which consumes coal, wood planks, other burnable objects that you can burn in a furnace, and will turn those items into mana. So I'm just going to let a couple of coal fall out here, and you'll see that these endoflames are going to consume that coal. I let one out extra. This is an item called an open crate, which I am going to revisit later, but basically any item pumped into it with a hopper or whatever will just fall straight out of the bottom. It's just a crate with a hole in the bottom. Brilliant, isn't it? I mean, I can't think of a better way to drop items, could you? And this is another very basic flower for generating mana. This is called the hydroangeas flower. I do believe I've pronounced that close to correct. Hydrangeas. Anyway, this flower, I'm not a botanist by trade. I fix computers, so yeah. Anyway, the hydrangeas will consume still water source blocks nearby and turn them into mana. As you can see here, I've got some water, infinite water source generators in the corners, and they are just being eaten by these hydrangeas, which eat in a 3x3 area around them. So just like, that large. And so, as you can see, this mana spreader is then collecting the mana from all of these and sending it to this mana pool. Now, if I wanted, I could set up another mana spreader next to this mana pool and send this mana over here, for example. Although I don't know why I would do that. So once you have a handle on mana, which of course I am going to go back, there's a whole chapter of this tutorial just on mana manipulation. So we will be coming back to mana manipulation. We will be coming back to generating Flora. There's also an entire chapter on that. These are just the very basics to get you started because I wanted to start out with, getting started and going over the basic mechanics. The next thing that you're going to want to shoot for is going to be this runic altar. And the runic altar you make just like, I don't have a... Do I have a recipe in here? No, I don't have a recipe. But anyway, the runic altar is pretty easy to make. I think you need a mana diamond and living rock or mana pearl and living rock. I think either works. And basically, the runic altar, you'll take and you add items onto the altar. Throw them on there just like this. You can, I think you can throw them, can't you? Yeah, okay, so you throw the items on into the runic altar, right? Just like this, and just like this. Where's sugarcane? I think you can right-click too. And once you have all of these items on there, you just right-click with your, as you can see, now, this guy. What about this guy? Oh yeah, there we go. So now I right-click, and it activates the process. You'll see that it is now charging. This comparator can actually read it. It puts out one redstone... one strength of redstone signal whenever it's charging and ready to make a rune, and it'll put out a second whenever it is fully charged and ready. The final thing that you need to do whenever you're ready to make your rune is throw a block of living rock on top. Yeah, just like that. And basically, whenever it is ready, which is now, you throw that block of living rock on top, you right-click this bad boy again, and it'll make some runes. And we've just made runes of water. Now, in here are the recipes for other runes. This one is the rune of earth, I believe. So let's just put that stuff in there. And grab this living rock thing. We hit it with the wand of the forest. We hit it with the living rock. And once I see some crackling electricity, I should be able to proceed to the next step. So that sometimes may take a minute or two, but you can see from this circular pie chart how close it is to completion. So you shouldn't have to worry about it. I need some mana cookies, so give me just a moment. I'm going to make the rest of these runes. This one's almost done. Let's finish this one. I'm going to finish this rune, the earth rune, rune of earth. So you start seeing some electric sparks, particle effects, or whatever, and there's the rune of earth. So I'm going to make the rest of these runes here and grab some food. Hang on. Oh, wow. Whoa, mana cookie. Holy smokes. Whoa, that is like the best food ever. Wow, mana cookies are extremely powerful. I guess the cookie is just a medium for all the power of the cookie. Or, I mean, the mana. No, the mana is a medium for the power of the cookie, obviously. So basically, there are 4 basic runes. There is the 4 elemental runes: fire, earth, water, and air. Then the next tier of runes up from that would be the seasonal runes: winter, summer, spring, and autumn. Finally, there are the 7 deadly sins runes: lust, gluttony, greed, envy, pride, wrath, and sloth. Oh, and there is actually one more rune as well, called the Rune of Mana. And the Rune of Mana is a special rune. It's not related to the others. Don't I have... Yeah, Rune of Mana right here. 5 mana steel ingots and a mana pearl. So... Now, obviously, as you go up in tiers, the cost of your runes is going to get more and more expensive. So just beware that. Right here is all the runes in the game, including the Rune of Mana, and yeah. So that's about it for the basics and mechanics chapter. Now we are on to chapter 2, mana manipulation. Now, of course, I covered most of the basic functions of mana pools in chapter 1, as well as the basic functions of mana spreaders. However, there is quite a lot more to learn in the realm of mana manipulation. One of the first things that we're going to want to look at is going to be the redstone mana spreader. The redstone mana spreader doesn't care what block it's pointing at or where it's pointing at. If there's a redstone signal and it's not currently on cooldown because it has a blast currently out there, it'll fire a blast of mana in whatever direction it's facing, as long as it's receiving a redstone signal. So as you can see right here, if I turn the lever on, then it'll fire a redstone. It'll fire itself, you know, that burst. Yeah. Now, the next thing that I want to take a look at is called the mana detector. Now, this block is made just like this, out of living rock and a redstone comparator and redstone dust. And basically, let's hang on. I'm going to take the Wand of the Forest here. It's got 2 modes: function mode and bind mode. I'm going to switch the Wand of the Forest into bind mode and shift right click on this mana spreader. And then I'm just going to shift right click on this mana pool to bind it to this mana pool. Now, as you can see, every time a mana burst passes through this mana detector, you'll see a redstone signal output over here from the mana detector. There comes a point in every botanist's life where one mana pool is no longer going to cut it. So there became an invention called the mana distributor. And basically, the mana distributor will take any mana burst fired into it and equally disperse the contents into any surrounding mana pools. So basically, when this burst comes in here, it's split in half. One half of it goes to this pool, and one half of it goes to this pool. This right here is actually a special mystical flower called the MANASTAR. The MANASTAR, as you can see, there's a light blue particle effect on the MANASTAR there. I'm not sure how well you can see it on the recording, but both of these MANASTARs have a light blue particle effect, and that indicates that the pools next to them, which they are attached to, are actually gaining mana. So if I were to take this mana spreader and aim it back to this direction and stop sending mana this way, the MANASTAR will then cease to glow blue. And if I then turn this lever on and drain mana from this mana pool, this MANASTAR will actually turn red and, you know, show red. So yeah, that's how the MANASTAR works. And, well, this right here is called a mana void. The mana void, as you may have guessed from the name, basically is just a null zone for mana. Any mana that goes into it ceases to be mana any longer, stops existing. There is one final block, which I'm not going to go over, called the mana flux field, and the mana flux field actually converts your mana into redstone flux so that you can use it with thermal expansion and other mods that use its power system, which these days most mods accept that power system one way or the other. Finally, I want to go over the mana tablet. Now, the mana tablet is basically, the mana tablet is a lot like an RE battery or any other battery from any other mod in that it carries mana, basically, in your inventory. So to do this, you just throw it on top of a mana pool. However, you can see that it's not working currently. And the reason is because if you look at this mana pool, it says it's accepting mana from items. What I've got to do is shift right click on that mana pool and right click. There we go. And it says sparing mana to items. Now, as you can see, the mana quickly disappeared from this mana pool and is in here. So yeah, now I've got mana inside my mana tablet, and you can actually see on the experience bar at the bottom how full my actively consumed mana tablet is by the opaque glowing blue bar down there. So yeah, very useful mana tablet. I'm just going to grab this full one here because it's going to be very useful. Now there is an upgrade, sort of, to the mana tablet, and that is the mana mirror. The mana mirror, basically you shift right click to connect your mana mirror to a given pool source, and now that mana mirror basically in my inventory acts as that pool source, and I could use it to, for example, power various components. Let me pick up these runes. Can I get these runes? This mana rune. I want the mana rune. Nah. Yeah. Ta-da! Mana rune. Rune of mana. So, yeah. And finally, the last topic that I want to go over is mana lenses. Now, mana lenses basically are crafted just like this with mana steel and a glass pane to make the basic mana lens. Now, you can take that basic mana lens, if you'd like, and you can actually dye it with regular dye or floral powder dye, just like this. And now that it's dyed, you can take that lens and place it on a mana spreader. And whenever you fire that mana spreader, your mana burst will be colored that mana lens's color, basically. However, that's not all. You can also take your mana lens and infuse it with a mana pearl instead of dye to make it rainbow tinted, which is even cooler because it changes colors. Yeah. So now, as awesome as those uses are, obviously there's a whole bunch of things in this chest, and there must be other things that we can do aside from color our mana. And yes, there are quite a lot. Okay, so the first one I want to go over is the velocity lens. And basically, your mana will travel faster, but the packets of mana basically will be smaller, and they'll actually start to lose mana faster than regular. I don't know. Oh, I may not have mentioned, oh goodness, this is terrible. I can't believe I haven't mentioned until now. This dot over here. Look, you see how I'm using my wand, right? And I'm looking at this mana spreader, right? And there's a dot over there. That dot is how far the mana goes before it starts to dissipate. If I come over here to this dot, you'll see that these particle effects dissipate from there on, just like the mana would in your mana burst after that point. Now, I have obviously edited that in to be a little bit earlier in the video, but you just got to hear it for a second time, perhaps. Okay, so the mana lens of potency, basically it doubles the capacity of the mana bursts, but they're slower. And once it does begin to lose mana, it loses mana much more quickly. The mana lens of resistance moves significantly slower, but also significantly farther before it loses mana, basically, long story short. As you can see, it goes all the way out here before it starts to lose mana, and that is quite a ways. Now, the mana lens of efficiency. Basically, your mana will go farther, and it will lose slower once it gets here. So it'll go farther, and it'll go even farther past the point that, see how far that mana burst went before it fully dissipated? Wow. So yeah, that's what that lens will do for you. The mana lens of bounce is an interesting one. It'll actually, let's see here, I'm gonna need some blocks. So the mana lens of bounce, believe it or not, will actually let your mana burst bounce off of items or blocks in the world rather than dissipating. So I'm going to take, let's see, I don't want bind mode, I want function mode. I'm gonna aim it like, oh, no. So obviously, as you can see by the traced path, it'll go out to there. And obviously, if I put like a mana pool here, for example, it would be able to catch that redstone blast. Now, oh my, I've messed up. The next one that I want to go over is the gravity lens. And the gravity lens actually makes your mana burst obey gravity. So as you can see, it arced straight down into the ground there. Let's do like that. Yeah, so as you can see, and it arcs up because it aims up, but it also feels the effects of gravity. However, in order to balance, it goes farther before it does start to lose mana. So that one goes quite a bit farther as well. The next one I want to look at is going to be the bore lens. And the bore lens is not actually boring, as you might assume from its name. The bore lens is actually extremely intriguing, because what it does is this redstone burst, boom, can bore right through that block, consuming some of the mana from the mana burst, and use that mana to break that block. Yeah, so long story short, that's what it does. Let's just get another one of those. I want to see that again. So there we go. Boom. Breaks the block just like that. And yeah, pretty impressive. That's definitely cool. I can see that you could find a way to use that for like mining capabilities, but I'm not sure how yet. Okay, the next lens that I want to go over is the damaging lens. And the damaging lens, when your mana burst strikes an entity that is not a player, causes damage. Of course, I don't have... Hold on, give me just a moment. I'm cheating. Okay, fire! Ka-chunk. As you can see, that zombie just took some pretty hefty damage. Let's just ka-chunk. Let's give it another shot there. Yeah. So yeah, does a little bit of damage. It's really not that much damage, but you know, that's just how it goes, I guess, isn't it? Okay, the next one is the phantom lens, which actually allows the mana burst to go right through blocks as if they were not there. Although it does slightly decrease the range of the mana, it doesn't do so quite as much as the bore. Okay, so the next lens that we're going over is the magnetizing lens, and the magnetizing lens actually allows your mana burst to home in on nearby sources of mana. So as you can see, I fire this mana burst, it goes over here, it curves right in and goes right into this mana pool, even though the way it was aimed, it wasn't aimed right at it. As you can see, if I just like take this bad boy off of here and fire that sucker again, definitely does not go straight into that thing. So yeah, that one works. The next one is entropic. And long story short, the entropic lens will cause a boom if it runs into anything that is not able to accept mana. So that would include things such as living rock. Let's just put some living rock right here and use it as an example with this. And there we go. And kerblooey. As you can see, creates a large explosion at the cost of basically the entire burst of mana. The next lens that we want to go over is the influence lens. And the influence lens is actually really interesting because what you can do with the influence lens is it will, as the mana burst passes nearby items, they will move in the same direction. So if I just undestroy my redstone button and do this, as you can see, these items move along the same plane as my burst of energy. So let's just fill this hole in here, because all those items got lost by the hole. And we'll try something a little bit more interesting in just a minute. The next mana lens that we want to go over is the weight lens. Now, if the mana burst hits a block, that block will basically turn into a falling sand entity, and it will fall if it is like suspended in the air. So we're going to aim at that block there. We're going to come over here and destroy the block underneath it, and we're going to give that a test and see if it works just like that. As you can see, it does indeed work just like that. The next mana lens that we want to go over is the Kindle mana lens. Now, this one is slightly different. Basically, whenever it strikes any object that can be ignited, it will ignite a flame. So, boom, as you can see right there, it ran into this block and couldn't go any farther, so it created a flame. Now, this particular mana lens can indeed be used both to ignite and to de-ignite nether portals. So your nether portals can be manipulated with mana from a distance. The next mana lens that we want to go over is the Kindle lens, which I thought we went over just a minute ago, and somehow I've got two of them. The next lens that we want to go over is the Force lens. And the Force lens, whenever it strikes a block, whenever your mana burst strikes a block with the Force lens, so let's just aim there, it'll actually push that block as if it were pushed by a piston. So as you can see, that just happened. Finally, one of the newest lenses is the flash lens, and it is actually one of my personal favorites. Whenever the mana burst from the flash lens strikes an object, it will ignite a mana flash there, which produces light. And let me just slash time set night. As you can see, that produces light, so it can be used as a remotely controlled way of lighting an area. Now, if the mana burst strikes one of these mana flashes, boom, the mana flash will actually disappear. Although, in this case, it appears I've missed. So, let me see what might be the cause of that. Oh yeah, I've certainly missed, and that's the cause of that being like that. So, if I just aim a little better like there, for example, I think it should go out. Yeah, just like that. So, let me go ahead and slash time set day so that we can see everything all nice. And let me go over one of the, basically the last function that you can use with these mana lenses, and that is you are able to combine the effects from two separate mana lenses together using this using a slime ball in the crafting grid. So basically, I'm just gonna take like we're gonna go with the I want the magnetizing lens, and I also want the influence lens. And so basically, I'm going to come over here and take the magnetic lens, the influence lens, and I'm going to combine them together into a composite mana lens, magnetizing influence. Now, of course, I'm going to color that rainbow colored too, just for the heck of it, because why not? Just like this. So, mana lens, magnetizing, rainbow tinted. So that'll actually undo my combination effect. I don't want to do that. What I do want is this. And I want to find a way that I can aim this, that it's going to magnetize properly around that there. Okay, so actually, why don't I... Okay, that looks pretty good, as a matter of fact. Okay, so basically, I'm gonna drop some blocks here. Okay, and we're gonna fire this. And fun enough, I can actually make that make these blocks curve around this corner and behind this wall of living rock. So yeah, mana lenses, there are lots of cool functions. You can combine them in many interesting ways, and they are the final thing in Chapter 2, Mana Manipulation. Chapter 3, Generating Flora. So basically, I've already covered more than half of the basic generating flora that you can access near the beginning of the game. I've covered the daybloom, I've covered nightshade, I've covered the endoflame, and I've covered hydroangeas. So if you didn't catch those in Chapter 1, I covered them. Next, I'm going to cover a couple more generating flora, which are slightly more advanced, starting with entropinium. Now, entropinium basically is a plant that converts entropic force, the force of entropy, into mana. So basically, if I just light this TNT here and get really scared, then you'll see that basically all the damage from the TNT is nullified, and entropinium here turns it into mana, which it then fills up in this mana pool. Now, now this only works if entropinium is empty. So if entropinium has mana in it, you might accidentally wind up blowing up your mod review set. So don't do that if you're me, Chris from the past. Anyway, the point being that basically, I need to be in. I do believe that this nullifies damage as well. Yes. So you don't take damage from being next to that explosion, and no one does, basically. So yeah, that's very good. The next one we're going to look at is Munch Dew. And Munch Dew is a unique and useful mana generation plant. Basically, Munch Dew will eat nearby leaf blocks and convert them into mana. So you can use it to strip away the leaves from your trees. Now, of course, the leaves don't drop any of the items that they would normally drop, because those are converted into mana too. At least that's the way I'm going to explain it. Next up, we've got Gormarillus. And Gormarillus is basically a gourmet plant, and it loves to feast on fine food. And basically, it can turn food into mana. So I'm just going to start feeding it baked potatoes, and as you can see, this mana pool will start filling up from the mana spreader. If I take a look with my Wand of the Forest, the Gormarillus is, constantly filling up this mana spreader every couple of potatoes. And basically, the amount that the Gormarillus turns each piece of food into, in terms of mana, is based on its, how much it actually satisfies your hunger in-game. So I can just stop this now. That's good. The final one we want to take a look at is the Rosa Arcana. Now, the Rosa Arcana actually will drain player experience and turn it into mana. As you can see, my experience bar is slowly draining. Although that's not extremely slow, considering 96 levels takes quite a lot of experience. So yeah, basically my experience bar is draining right now. Any player that is standing basically right on or immediately adjacent to the Rosa Arcana will contribute experience points to it, and it'll turn those experience points into mana, and yeah. So those are basically all of the generating flora that you can access for now, until we cover Alfhomancy and the elven world and elven materials a little bit later on. So we are going to move on to Chapter 4, in which I cover functional flora. The first piece of functional flora that I want to cover is the agricarnation. Now, the agricarnation can take mana and turn it into basically fertilizer power. As you can see, there are little green, sparkly particle effects floating around my potatoes that I just planted here. And basically, all the plants that are near a mana-powered agricarnation will grow at a faster rate than usual. The next one that we're going to look at is the bell thorn. And the bell thorn is quite an interesting one. it actually will damage all non-player entities within a given radius at a constant rate using mana. Now, this is quite a potent way to defend your base from intrusion or what have you. Even if I move up in the world a little bit and go with iron golems, you can see that that takes quite a lot of damage, just as much damage as well. And if I, say, grab a whole bunch of these guys and we want to, like, try and spawn a whole bunch of them, I definitely can't spawn more than one at once. Whoops. But yeah, as you can see, it can definitely do this for multiple mobs at once, although it appears to be limited to 2, and that's definitely going to depend on exactly how much mana you have to power it with. But as you can see, it does make short work of these iron golems. They really don't stand a chance. The next one that we're going to go over is going to be the Daffo Mill. And the Daffo Mill, when powered with mana, can use the power of mana to blow items around in the physical world. So basically, yeah, as you can see, it'll blow all these items around, and they'll all go down quite a distance. And say you could have another one down here pushing them this way. I think it's much more exciting than using, like, item transport pipes. That's boring. The next one we're going to look at is Clayconia. And Clayconia, at the cost of mana, will basically dampen and transform sand blocks into balls of clay. So yeah, that's kind of useful. If there's no clay in the area, you can use Clayconia, and basically you don't have to hunt down clay that, you know, spawned in the world. You can make it out of sand, say if you're in a desert and there's no water anywhere around. Now, the Dreadthorn is a very interesting piece of flower. It works a lot like the Bellthorn in that it will constantly assault nearby mobs. However, it works slightly differently from the Bellthorn in the fact that it will not hurt player mobs, and it also will not hurt baby mobs. So basically, all mobs that aren't babies and aren't players are going to get a walloping in the presence of the Dreadthorn, while babies are spared. The next one we're going to look at is the exoflame, and basically, long story short, the exoflame is going to power any adjacent furnaces as if they had a fuel source. So just like the endoflame takes a fuel source and converts it into mana, the exoflame takes mana and converts it into fuel source energy inside the furnace. The next one we're going to look at is the Fallen Canade. Canade? I'm not 100% sure. But basically, long story short, let's take some damage here. The Fallen Canade gives you regeneration 3 while you're within its presence if you're, like, immediately super close to it and you've got plenty of mana. Next up, we've got the one and only Hopperhawk. And basically, the Hopperhawk is an item storing and sorting plant. And what I mean by that will be a little more clear in just a moment. But basically, the Hopperhawk, you can take and if I throw this diamond here, the Hopperhawk will consume mana to pick it up and then place it in this chest. Actually, it doesn't require mana for basic functions, but it increases its range if it is powered with mana, so that's very useful. Now, the Hopperhawk placed the diamond in this chest because this chest is actually marked with a diamond in an item frame, just like it's marked with a gold ingot in an item frame and an ender pearl in an item frame down here on this other separate chest that's connected to it. This one over here has ball of clay, and this one has no item frames on it. So if I take and throw diamond, ender pearl, gold, clay, rotten flesh, then you're going to see that the way that sorts is very interesting. Now, the ender pearl properly sorts over here, despite the item frame being over there and attached to, like, basically a different block. And the gold and diamond both sort into this chest from the Hopperhawk. Whereas clay balls get sorted into this chest by the Hopperhawk, And for some reason, it looks like the rotten flesh went in there too, and I'm kind of confused about that. I was thinking the rotten flesh was going to come back over here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, this appears to be working correctly. Clay balls go in there, and, yeah, so, woo! I'm just going to throw all this stuff in here, and we're going to let the Hopper Hawk sort it real quick. As you can see, it makes quick work of those items and sorts them into their appropriate chests. Perfect. Ideal, in fact. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna pitch all those items there. Wow, Hopper Hawk. Damn, you fast. Okay, so the Hyacinthus. I have dubbed this flower the miasma flower. And what it does is it actually inflicts poison on any nearby mobs. So as you know, poison, the effect poison, doesn't kill mobs. It only takes them to a minimum of 1 HP, at which point it'll no longer damage them. The next flower that we're going to take a look at is the Jaded Amaranthus. And the Jaded Amaranthus actually consumes mana in order to produce new mystical flowers. So it's sort of like floral fertilizer, except made out of mana and applied in a radius of 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, up to 4 blocks away, basically. And it does work up a block, and it does work down a block. I did test that, wanted to make sure that that was the case. So yeah, very good on Vazkii for thinking everything through. As you can see, it just produced another mystical flower. Next up, we've got Giulia. I think I'm pronouncing that right, or close to it. And basically, I'm dubbing this the Flower of the Force. So let's just summon this zombie here. I might want to like /time set night maybe. So, but yeah, basically, I'm gonna. Whoa, dude! Holy what? I just watched something real. Oh. Okay. So if I like, woo, get pushed. Flying golems, yeah! Woo! Whee! Oh my gosh. What in the world? Okay. So yeah, basically, long story short, the Giulia will act as a force field and push out all living entities that are within a given radius of it. /time set day. Oh man, that's a highlight right there. I did not expect the flying iron golems at all. That was not something I thought was gonna happen. Oh boy. Okay. So the next one is the polydesiac. And the polydesiac actually will take any food that can be fed to nearby animal mobs and feed them at the cost of mana. So I'm just gonna feed some wheat to this polydesiac block here, and it's gonna put these cows in the mood, and they're gonna make a baby, but we're gonna avert our eyes. Yeah, so that's the polydesiac. It's pretty simple. Next one we're going to look at is Ranuncarpus. And basically, Ranuncarpus, it'll take any blocks that can be placed in the world that are dropped near it, and it'll place it on nearby blocks that match its key block. Now, the key block is the block that is immediately under this block of grass right here that's under the plant. So, of course, I have a block of quartz under there. And obviously, whenever I place something, it goes like that. So, I could, like, throw this redstone torch over here, or I could throw, like, some TNT over here. Oh, I got rid of the TNT. Guess I'll throw a hopper instead. I could throw a hopper in here, and it'll place the hopper down in the world. Maybe? Does that work? Hopper doesn't work because it is a directionally placed item, I guess. Hopper doesn't work. Vazkii, hopper doesn't work. Okay, so either way, I could throw a redstone lamp there and we could be done with it. Next up is Tangleberry. Tangleberry is kind of like the opposite of Giulia in that it essentially, where am I? Okay, well, I guess I'll just use the iron golem. In that basically, ow! Nah, help me! So basically, that iron golem is now within a force field that prevents it from moving too far away from the... No! No, it passed right through the force field, apparently. Passed right through the force field. Now can it come inside the force field? Yes, it can come inside the force field. I've got an angry iron golem, and I've got to lure it over by the poison plants and stuff, because, like, it's mad at me. See, it's stuck again. See, it works. No, but it doesn't. Ah, it only works temporarily. Mana cookie. Raw. Nom, 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 nom. So, yeah, mana cookie. Okay. So, the next plant that I want to go over is the Tiger's Eye, and basically, this plant consumes mana to imbue players with the power of felines and scare creepers off. So as you can see, this creeper is not going to blow up. Even though I'm in survival mode, this creeper is just frozen. And in fact, I do believe that the creepers are supposed to run away from people too. So I'm not sure why that's not happening. But basically, it does totally freeze any nearby creepers from doing their effect. And yeah, the creeper is running away. This creeper is scared of me. So, the final entry in Chapter 4, Functional Flora, is the Vinculotus, which I have dubbed the Ender Magnet, and I'm sure you will see why in just a moment. Basically, though, long story short, any Endermen which teleport anywhere nearby are going to teleport straight back to that block. So if I drop an Enderman in this water and he teleports, he's going to teleport... What? Whoa. Okay. Whoa. 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 Things went wrong. Okay, so things went wrong. Long story short. Hello, Iron Golem. What's up? Okay. So that didn't work quite the way I expected it to. Let's go over here and try again. If I drop this Enderman in there, it teleports straight there. And basically, anytime it tries to teleport, it is going to teleport straight back to the Vinculotus until it, is no longer alive. So basically, if any Enderman teleport anywhere near you, it will catch the Enderman like a fly trap. As you can see, they teleport. They tried to teleport that way, but they failed entirely, and my iron golems just take them down in no time. They try to teleport away, but obviously they can't because they can only teleport right back to the center of the fray. So yeah, super useful, actually extraordinarily powerful, and super cool, I think, piece of code, as far as the modding aspect of it goes. Now this is the abstruse platform, and the abstruse platform is a block that looks like a solid block, but it can be walked through, and it can be jumped through, and basically, the only time that it exists is if you're standing on top of it and not crouching. So, you can also take any other block, and you can do just like that, and you can hide the abstruse platform as any other block. So you can use it for a really cool transition, just like this, where I come in here and I show you the recipe with a mana pearl, pattern framed living wood, and living wood. So basically just living wood and a mana pearl to make the abstruse platform, and that super cool transition. Welcome to Chapter 5, by the way, Natural Apparatus, if I haven't mentioned it already. The Alchemy Catalyst is the next item that I'm going over from the Natural Apparatus side of the mod, and basically, let's just get rid of all this stuff that's in my inventory that I don't need. The Alchemy Catalyst, when placed beneath a mana pool, actually changes the mana pool's function from imbuing mana into items to allowing you to perform alchemy on those items. So I've got a selection here of my favorite examples that I would like to show you, like Rotten Flesh, Snow, Wheat, the Book and Quill, Cactus, the Gas Tier, and of course Redstone Dust. So if you toss Rotten Flesh in, of course you can see on the screen, it'll show you what you're gonna get back. So if you toss in some Rotten Flesh, it'll turn into leather. If you toss in Snow Block, it'll turn into ice. If you toss in Wheat to a potato to carrot to melon seeds to pumpkin seeds to cocoa beans, and cocoa beans to seeds. So, like, you can go, and like I said, that just started with wheat. I mean, and we just went through all, so once you unlock this, you don't have to hunt zombies for a potato. You can get a potato from wheat. Then you can get a carrot from your potato. Yeah, just like magic. You can also turn a book and quill into a name tag, which is awesome. Cactus and slime ball become completely interchangeable. So as you can see, slime ball into cactus, cactus into slime ball. You can also create ender pearls from gas tears, and you can switch redstone and glowstone dust back and forth. And that is only a small selection of the different things that you can do with the alchemy catalyst. It's not super expensive. It does take 2 brewing stands, a mana pearl, some gold, living rock. Not too bad though, not too bad at all. It gives you the ability to create name tags, and that is awesome. The next thing we're gonna go over is actually the brewing with the Botanical Brewery. Now, the Botanical Brewery is basically Botania's method of brewing potions. There's a whole bunch of different cool potions that you can make, and basically they are all upgraded copies of the default Minecraft potions, except they have 4 doses of usage. So in one inventory space, as you use them, they'll go down, 4 doses, 3 doses, 2 doses, 1 dose, and then you'll get your managlass vial back at the end. To make managlass vials, you just use managlass in the shape of a glass bottle, like in Minecraft. And you'll take then your managlass vial and whatever ingredients you need for your potion. In this case, I want the potion of swiftness, and you can just put those in there, boom, just like that, and it'll start to fill up with mana. Now, I do believe you can use a comparator to detect how far it is in the process, but basically, once it has enough mana, there should be a change, and boom, there we go. And it's gonna give us a vial of Fleet Feet. Now, of course, if I drink this, it's gonna give me speed, and it's going to go down to a 2-dose potion, although that doesn't make sense. I thought it was a 4-dose potion. Oh, it gave me speed twice. Oh, so wait, what if I take another drink? Okay, still speed 2. Doesn't matter. I'm a little confused about exactly how that works, but whatever. The recipe for that's pretty simple. We need a rune of mana and a block of mana steel to augment your brewing stand into a botanical brewery. So yeah, there's another upgrade to that later, but we can't get to that yet. Now, the next thing that I want to cover is the Drum of the Wild. Now, there's an item form of the Drum of the Wild that does basically the same thing, and I'll be going over that later. But the Drum of the Wild is a block version of that, and basically it will destroy all this grass and flowers and mushrooms and any other shrubberies and various small things as if they were destroyed by hand whenever you hit it with a mana burst. So yeah, you hit the drum with the mana burst, the drum plays like a deep note, and all of a sudden all the plants just burst from where they are and turn into items. So yeah, the item, by the way, that I was talking about is called the Horn of the Wild. It's right here if you want to see. Boom. So yeah, that works just the same way, just like that. Oh no, I've messed up my So the next thing that I want to get into is going to be enchanting. And basically, enchanting in Botania is going to allow you to enchant, take the enchants from enchanted books and apply them to items without consuming your book. If that sounds good, then, stick around. Basically, what you're going to need for this is 17 blocks of obsidian, 10 of any mystical flowers, they can be different, and 6 mana pylons, which you make just like this. And basically, you need to put your obsidian in the center in a shape like this, and you need some mystical flowers in these corner parts. Then you need mystical flowers here, 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 and mana pylons right above that. And then you place your lapis lazuli block right in the middle and tap it with your wand. It'll turn into a mana enchanter. Now, what we need to do is take our item that we'd like to enchant, say a diamond pickaxe, for example, and I want to take this spark and put it on there so that I can actually use this for, basically, so that I can use that for power. And we are going to take and put the diamond pickaxe right there, and we're going to throw the books around the outside in the circle. Boom, just like that. and I think I hit it with my wand. Oh, yeah, and it's doing stuff. Oh, yeah, oh, wow, that's super cool. So, as you can see, there is a progress counter. You can see exactly how much time you've got left to wait. Be careful not to pick up one of these books. You'll interrupt the whole process and lose any stored mana from the process so far. It's quite an expensive process and takes a lot of mana, so you want to avoid that if you can. So there we go. You see it picks up the abilities from the books. Now we can come in here, we can grab up our books, and finally just tap this guy and take our diamond pickaxe. And our diamond pickaxe has Fortune 3, Efficiency 5, Unbreaking 3, and I still have all of my enchanted books. So basically, it totally revolutionizes the way you look at enchanted books. They're not one-time enchantments, they're basically enchantment templates. Okay, so this block is the Ender Overseer, and basically if a player within 64 blocks is looking at the Ender Overseer, it will output a redstone signal. Now 64 blocks is actually quite a distance, as you can see. It goes all the way back over here to where I started the mod review. And actually quite a bit further. So yeah, that's super useful. I really like it. The next thing that I want to show you is the Eye of the Ancients. And the Eye of the Ancients is somewhat interesting because it actually will emit a redstone signal that counts nearby entities. So as you can see, it's emitting a redstone signal of 3 because there are 4 entities within a 6-block radius, but as those pigs move away and wander, like pigs are wont to do, that redstone signal decreases because they are no longer within the radius of the counting effect. As I said, it goes for a 6-block radius. The next thing that we're going to look at is the Force Relay, and this is a pretty strange block. Basically, though, the Force Relay is a block that can be linked to another block, and basically, I'm going to take my Wand of the Forest and link these 2 blocks together, and now, whenever it's the Force Relay is pushed by a piston, this living rock will be pushed in the same direction. There is one exception, however, and you might notice it in just a moment. It actually does not apply when you push it using sticky pistons. So, for example, if I put this on a loop, I could make it move this direction once, this direction once, and then this direction once, but then it would start moving this direction again. And it would eventually move, basically, this direction is the only direction it would effectively move, because it would be going back and forth this direction, but not going that way at all, only going that way. You see how that works? So if I were to send this around a couple of times, around my little circle here, which obviously I haven't put in the time or effort to create a redstone clock of any variety. As you can see, this block starts moving farther and farther this direction from where it started because it isn't being pushed back this direction whenever this piston extends and pushes the Force Relay. So yeah, pretty interesting block. Basically, it connects kinetically through dimensional barriers with another physical block. Super cool. The next block we're going to look at is the spreader turntable, and it basically just spins your mana spreaders for you. So you can have your mana spreaders go to aim at, say, like different pools, and whenever it is facing a pool that or inventory that it can go into, it'll fire. Or you could use redstone to control when the mana spreader fires, and use the spreader turntable as a way of, say, just shooting mana in every direction, for example. So if I right-click on the spreader turntable, you'll see that there's arrows there, and it's actually spinning faster now. So I can spin it at a couple different speeds, as you can see. It'll keep spinning, and so that's pretty nice. Go back to the basic speed, though. If I shift-click on it, it'll actually spin in the other direction, and I can also change its speed in up to 6 degrees that direction as well. That is pretty much it for the extent of the natural apparatus section, and now we are on to Chapter 6, which is going to cover baubles and accessories, which are available before you begin Alfhomancy. Okay, welcome to Chapter 6, Baubles and Accessories. Now, these baubles and I just lost the game, Big Yellow 7. Anyway, baubles and accessories, basically, if you're in your inventory and you press B, or if you're in your inventory and you click this little baubles icon, it'll open up the baubles menu. Or if you press B from the main world instead of pressing E for your inventory, it'll open up the baubles menu by default. Now, basically, as you can see, there are 4 slots here for baubles from the baubles mod. There are 2 ring slots, a sash slot, and an amulet slot, and belt slot, sash slot, whatever. So you can wear up to 2 rings at once. And they've each got special effects, and I'm just going to go over those briefly. So the first thing that I want to go over is the Band of Mana and the Greater Band of Mana. Now, basically, these bands are wearable pools which can hold mana. So it's the crafting recipe for them is actually, believe it or not, just like this. You make the Band of Mana with just mana steel and a mana tablet. And basically, it's a wearable mana tablet. So if I put my Band of Mana in here, then basically I don't have to, basically the Band of Mana can carry mana for me. The Greater Band of Mana does the exact same thing, except to a greater degree. So it is able to hold more mana. The next one I want to go over is the Band of Aura and the Greater Band of Aura. So if I take and equip the Band of Aura and the Greater Band of Aura, I've got a mana tablet here. Now, if you look, it's only got space for 1 more mana, but now it's actually full. And the reason is because the Band of Aura and the Greater Band of Aura both produce mana passively, basically essentially gather it from the world around you and just passively generate it, and they'll store it in any mana storage devices you have in your inventory, such as the mana tablet. The next one I want to look at is the Ring of Magnetization. And the Ring of Magnetization is pretty interesting, but it does pretty much what you would expect. It'll suck in items, magnetize items to you from the ground, from nearby in the world. Oh no, oh god, no! Ah! The spam, the item spam. But yeah, basically that's what the Ring of Magnetization does. And it does, however, offer a very interesting feature that you don't often see, which is that it does not pull items that you've just dropped for 5 seconds after you drop them. So there is a cooldown on pulling dropped items so as not to interfere with whatever you dropped the item for, such as to eliminate it. The next one we're going to look at is the Ring of Chordata, or Chordata. I don't really know how, but either way, it basically gives you water walking, sight, and breathing. So if I were to go and jump in a pool of water, which I don't actually have one convenient, and that is my failure in foresight, but if I were to jump into a pool of water, my walk speed would be similar to that as on land. I would have increased vision underwater, basically night vision, and would also be able to basically have water breathing too, so like I don't have to worry about breath. So yeah, that's the Ring of Chordata. Then the final ring that I'm going to go over right now in this chapter is the Ring of the Mantle. And basically, the Ring of the Mantle gives haste, like mining haste, and it consumes mana from your inventory anytime you like mine or punch or anything. So as you can see, it just consumed mana from my mana tablet there. Although it does so at a very, very slow rate. So, like, if I just take my pickaxe, though, and do this, as you can see, I definitely have haste, too, infinite, obviously, and, it is quite potent. Let's just fix my set here, because I'm a complete dolt, and I like to destroy my own sets, like a total reject. There we go. But as you can see, it did use up some mana from my mana tablet. in order to do that. It consumes mana to give you the effect, and it also consumes mana like whenever you're punching or fighting mobs, for example, according to the Lexica Botania, of course. So, yeah. The next thing I'm going to look at is the set of amulets. Now, there are basically 5 different amulets that you can use until you've unlocked the elven branch of knowledge. And these amulets, they can actually be very, very powerful. So I'll just go through and show you what they can do. The Pyroclast Pendant, basically, if you're on fire and not standing in fire or lava, it'll put out the fire at the cost of mana. The Snowflake Pendant basically lets you walk on water. It'll produce ice blocks at still water source blocks that are at your feet, and they will melt once you're out of range. The Tainted Blood Pendant we're going to come back to because it's pretty unique. The next one is the Spectator, and the Spectator, while holding an item. Okay, so basically, I equip the Spectator, right, and then I can hold any given item, say, the Everlasting Guilty Pool. Now, because I'm holding this item, right, any containers that have that item in it, or any instances of the item that are in the world on the ground, will have a material effect, not a material effect, I'm sorry, a particle effect, which you can actually see through walls. So you can go and hunt for this item. Also works for the item placed in the world? No. Doesn't work for the item placed in the world. But that's okay. The next thing we're going to look at is the Tiny Planet. And when you have the Tiny Planet equipped, basically you create a homing gravity effect on any mana bursts. So I'm going to stand like here or so, and we're going to see that whenever this mana spreader actually fires this mana burst, it's going to have to fire it in a way that it bends right around me, and the mana burst basically circles me, and basically it's gonna just stay with me and circle me until it fully dissipates, or I maneuver it somewhere that it can, be in an inventory. So if I come over here and I can, sort of guide it into the mana pool. There are other uses for it. Obviously, you can obviously charge your mana bursts with various functions and then use the Tiny Planet to basically pilot those mana bursts with your body. So yeah, my body is ready, and that's what we're doing. The next thing I'm going to go over is the Tainted Blood Pendant. And basically, the Tainted Blood Pendant must be used with the brewing stand, the alchemical or the botanical brewing stand. So if I were to go all the way back over there and put this on the brewing stand, it would go where the glass vial usually goes. Now, with 10 times the regular base material that it would cost to infuse a potion into a flask, you can actually infuse that potion effect into the Tainted Blood Pendant, and at the cost of mana, I do believe, it will provide you that effect while you're wearing the amulet. So I have speed 2 basically permanently because I'm wearing this Tainted Blood amulet that is infused with speed 2. So yeah, those are the amulets, and that's basically that. Next, we're going to go for the belts. There's only the 2. There's the Tectonic Girdle, and the Tectonic Girdle basically makes you immune to all forms of external knockback. So if a player comes up to you with knockback 10 on their hacked sword and they hit you, you are not going anywhere. You're going to stay right where you are. The other one is the Sojourner's Sash, and the Sojourner's Sash is basically a traveling augmentation. It allows you to walk significantly faster, as you can tell. It also allows you to walk up 1 block inclines. So you can walk right over 1 block inclines without having to jump. And your jump height and fall resistance are also increased by significant amounts. So yeah, the Sojourner's Sash is pretty powerful, just like the Tectonic Girdle. And really, you don't have too much choice in belts yet, so you might as well go with one or the other. Welcome to Chapter 7. I just lost the game again. Alfhomancy. Now, Alfhomancy basically refers to the variety of botany practiced by the elves from Alfheim, who have been banished there for a long, long time. And basically, we're going to open a portal to Alfheim. In order to do that, we're going to need living wood, glowing living wood, an elven portal frame, 2 of these wells, and 2 of these guys. And all that stuff is in here. 8 living wood, 3 glimmering living wood, 1 elven gateway core, 2 natural pylons, and 2 pools of mana, which will each have to be at least half full. In this case, I'm using the guilty pool because guilty is charged. But basically, yeah. So you're going to take all of these components and you're going to start by doing this and this. Hang on, let me go in here. Dooba dooba dooba. And then we need to place the Elven Gateway Core right here. Looks like a portal. It's getting there. So now I've got to come out 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3 from the middle here. And 1, 2, 3 spaces either direction, like this. 1, 2, 3. With those pools there, all I've got to do is place my natural pylons just above them. And finally, hit the Elven Gateway Core with my Wand of the Forest. Now, boom, there we have it. A portal to Alfheim, the Elven world. Now, of course, you can't actually pass through this portal. There's not enough power for living beings to go through the portal. However, there are a number of materials that can go through the portal, the first of which you want to throw your Lexica Botania through there. The elves will throw it right back at you, and you'll see, if you hold shift when you look at it, that it now contains the Elven School of Knowledge. Whenever you open it for the first time, it will start with a message from the Elven Guard that will tell you about how they want resources from our world and the status of their world and blah, 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 all sorts of cool stuff. Anyway, the basic thing I'm trying to get to is this fun stuff. Next major upgrade in Botania, and for now the final one, is to upgrade your materials to Elven materials. You can take 1 living wood and swap it for a dream wood. You can take 2 mana steel, and they will send you back elementium. You can throw in a mana pearl and receive in return pixie dust. A mana diamond for a dragonstone. And you can also throw in nether quartz for an elven variety of quartz. And managlass for alfglass. Somewhere. There it is. Yes. So there are a number of new unlocks once you reach Alfhomancy that I didn't cover in earlier chapters, but which really belonged there. I'm going to go over those now in order of their chapters being presented earlier so as to minimize confusion as much as possible. So basically, we're going over elven methods of mana manipulation currently. And so once you have Dreamwood, you're able to create the Elven Mana Spreader. And once you have Dreamwood and Elementium, I believe it's Elementium? No, with Dragonstone on top of your Elven Mana Spreader, as well as a Gaia Spirit, you'll be able to create the Gaia Mana Spreader, which is even better. So basically, I'm just going to plop these down for comparison. We're going to see the Mana Spreader, the Elven Mana Spreader, and the Gaia Mana Spreader. And if I equip my Wand of the Forest, you'll see that the regular mana spreader goes to here, the elven mana spreader goes to here, and the Gaia mana spreader makes it all the way down here before it even starts to lose any of its mana. So it is clearly the superior choice. However, there is one slight caveat, and that is that you cannot make redstone versions of either the elven or Gaia mana spreaders currently. The next thing I'm going to cover is the Paint Slinger Mana Lens, which I intentionally didn't cover previously because it is an elf piece of equipment. And basically, I'm going to color this Paint Slinger Lens purple to make sure that, because I want a purple beam. And now basically, I'm going to put this Paint Slinger Lens over here, and we're going to pull this lever, and it's going to, boom, turn all of that pretty white wool into purple wool, which actually works much better with the yellow. So for the sake of, whoa! What was that? Oh! Okay, well that's fun. Anyway, I'm also going to, let's just shoot some of this carpet too and illustrate that it works the same way. Oh dear. Ha ha ha. Okay. So yeah, there we go. Boom. And that, oh, it didn't actually function properly, although there was a particle effect like it should have. So consider this your bug report, Vazkii. The next thing that we're going to look at is another mana lens related piece of equipment. So let me just aim this back to where it needs to be, just like that. Yeah, great. And it is called the Mana Prism, and it's got a very special purpose. Basically, the Mana Prism acts as a mid-flight switch for your mana beam. So if I were to, let's say, put the prism, I'm gonna make this easy on myself. I know I'm using like a sideways methodology here. So I'm just going to put this prism, like, here. That should work. I think that's right. That looks good. So, but we'll make sure. Yeah, that's going to pass right through that prism. So basically, you see how it's purple before it hits the prism and white after it hits the prism? Well, if I go ahead and fire this, you'll see that it actually turns white, and it no longer has the Paint Slinger ability. It actually turns into neutral mana. Now, if I equip a mana lens of boring onto my mana prism that is colored, then whenever it goes through, you'll see it actually changes color and will gain the ability of that prism. So as you can see, it bores right through a bunch of my pretty purple wool and completely destroys my whole art project just for the sake of, you know, showing you cool stuff. So, you know, yeah. Finally, there are a couple, the final addition to mana manipulation once you reach Alfhomancy is the addition of spark augments. These are pretty simple, so I'll just explain them. Basically, there is the dominant spark augment, which basically the pool that the spark is attached to, right? You then attach the spark augment. Wait, hang on. Let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to take the everlasting guilty pool over here, and we're also going to place down a couple of mana pools. And I'm going to place a spark here, and here, and here, and here. And as you can see, these sparks can link to all the other sparks around them. They're not doing anything yet. Now, if I take a spark augment of dominant and apply it to this spark will actually drain all the mana it can to fill up this pool as much as it possibly can. It will forcefully, like, always try to take mana from this pool. Now, to remove the augment, I can shift right-click, and just like that, and I can get the spark back that way, too, if I want. I do believe I've mentioned that earlier. So I'm going to put that spark back, and we're going to actually make this now a recessive traded spark. And what you'll see here is that this spark actually religiously sends all of its mana to any pools which have space to accept it until it is out, until it doesn't have any mana that it can send. So if I look at this, it is basically an empty mana pool now. It doesn't have enough mana in it to create, a packet for this spark. Now, if I take the dominant spark and put it here, obviously all the mana from this pool is going to be sucked into this pool. All the mana from this pool is going to be sucked into this pool. And all the mana from this pool is going to be sucked into this pool until this pool is totally full. So, if I were to, for example, put down a bunch more of these everlasting creative pools, for example, and put a whole bunch of sparks all over them, then, as you can see, this pool, actually, it's full now. So I'm going to take that dominant trait back and put it over here. And as you can see, it's going to draw from all those pools. Because of how many sources it was able to draw from, this mana pool was able to fill extraordinarily quickly. Now, there's also this, the isolated spark augment. So if I take my recessive augment back and that augment, and I use my recessive augment, then what you'll see is that this is going to give all its mana over here. But even if I had space in this pool, which I don't, so let me fix that. Even if I had space in this particular mana pool, so let's just break that mana pool and do this, and then put another spark there. Now, it's filling up, but if I put that isolated trait back in there, just like this, on that spark, then this pool actually ceases to fill up from this. It also cannot be drawn from by a dominant pool. So the dominant pool won't draw from this, but the recessive pool won't send to it. But it can still be used to power things like the brewery. Well, actually, the brewery doesn't work. Like the enchanting altar, for example. The final spark augment that we want to go over is dispersive. So if we just take and place a dispersive spark augment on that creative pool, and then get rid of this mana tablet and grab like a blank one, then you'll see that what happens is this spark will actually disperse mana to me from that pool to fill my mana tablet. And it actually works up to, as you can see, quite a pretty significant distance it'll work from. So yeah, wireless charging of your mana tablets. Just what's it called? Conductance charging, I think is what they're going to call it these days. Conductance charging. Yeah, let's go with that. So that basically covers it for Elven mana manipulation additions. The next thing we're going to cover are the 2 new generating flora added by learning Elven knowledge. Those are going to be the Keki Muris is the first one, and it actually eats cake that is placed in the world nearby and transfers cake into mana. As you can imagine, this is clearly like the best way ever to do mana generation. The other one is the thermalily, and the thermalily actually consumes lava and turns it into mana. Of course, it does take a short period of time. It appears to produce mana for quite some time. And so, yeah, that's basically how that works. It eats lava source blocks, consumes them, turns them into mana. It looks like it burns for a long time, probably about as long as a lava bucket would burn in a furnace, I would guess. And those are the 2 new added generating flora from Alfhomancy. The next ones we're going to look at are the functional flora. They include the Heisei Dream, Loonium, and the Orechid. So the Heisei Dream here actually takes aggressive mobs and confuses them, using the power of mana, and makes them aggressive against each other. Maybe. That doesn't work. So what it does instead is make me look like a total fool. No, the hooba dooba. Okay, so as you can see, it works with zombies while they're aggressive. And I would bet that if it was dark and spiders were aggressive, see, this zombie doesn't even care to attack me. Does he? Yes, he does. But now these zombies are going to attack each other. It didn't work with the spiders immediately, but I bet it would work with the zombie on a spider. So like zombie on spider crime, and then they immediately hate each other. But the fact is that it's daylight right now, and spiders aren't actually aggressive to players during the daylight. Now the next thing I want to go over is /weather_clear. This is an interesting command that can be used to make Minecraft not hate you. The next one that I want to go over is actually called loonium. And loonium is very powerful. It takes quite a lot of mana to activate, but it actually will generate items that are spawned in dungeon chests and spawn them into the world around it nearby. This chest is basically filled with the contents of it doing that good like 20 times or so. And as you can see, I did get quite a few cool things, like some mana steel. I got the music disc. I got a name tag. This Black Lotus I actually put in there manually. So I'm not certain yet if that's gonna work. So let me put down a guilty pool here, and we can go talk about, oh, hang on. Pool. Okay, so let me put down a guilty pool here, like this. And now you'll see that it stores up quite a lot of mana, and then it will at some point here consume that mana and turn it into an item and drop it nearby. I'm just gonna wait for that to happen. There, bread. Now, bread is definitely an item that can spawn in dungeon chests. And basically, yeah, so that's how that works. And this Hopper Hawk just sucked that up and stuck it right in here. Botania is one of those items, of course. So, yeah, this works quite well. And, yeah. Speaking of items that generate in dungeon chests, the Black Lotus is a brand new item from the very last release of Botania just before I started recording this mod review, release 152, and it actually can be found in dungeon chests, and whenever you... and basically, you can take it and throw it into a mana pool, and it will convert into mana, just like that. So it's basically like a bonus, naturally spawning mana container. Alright, so the next piece of functional flora we want to take a look at is called the orechid, and this is a super unique piece of flora here. And basically, it replaces nearby stone blocks with ores. And basically, it seems like the type of ores you get are going to be based primarily on, like, the actual ratios of those ores in the world. So it seems like coal is a lot more common than iron or whatever. But I have personally seen emerald and diamond. I'm not sure if I'm going to have an emerald or diamond pop up anytime in the next couple of moments while I'm rambling on and watching, although it would be super convenient if there would be a diamond, like, right here, like, right now. Like, diamond? Diamond. Can we get a diamond? No, we can't, apparently. No diamonds for me. There's absolutely no diamonds allowed for me, and that's just the way it goes. So, yeah. Oh, I have, in the last couple of minutes, I did get a Black Lotus from my dungeon chest generator, so they definitely do properly generate from dungeon chests. No gold, no lapis, nothing cool, but all the stuff is on here, and as you can tell, it will all eventually show up. We'll come back here in a couple minutes, and we'll see what it's done with all of this stone. In the meantime, I'm going to go over elven brewing enhancements. I apparently am terrible at doing this, and I can't have, like, sugar or that other thing that I need, which is the redstone dust. So basically, this is an alfglass flask, and for the same number of resources as it costs for a regular potion, basically you are able to... hang on, I need to... boom. There we go. And so basically, the alfglass flask will create 6 dose potions as opposed to 4 dose potions made by regular managlass vials. And we'll get to see that in just a moment, but while it's working, we're gonna run over here and take a look at the next item on my list, which is the Conjuration Catalyst. Now, this is essentially an elven upgrade to the Alchemy Catalyst, and basically what it does is it will allow you to conjure up basically clones of items that already exist. That was my... there it is. So there's my my flask of Fleet Feet with 6 uses for 1.5 minutes a piece for a total of 9 minutes worth of usage. Quite impressive. Now, if I take and throw some redstone dust in here, it'll actually double. And it did actually re-eat that redstone dust and redouble it. But yeah, as you can see, all I've got to do is throw these things in here, and all of the given items that I have just shown you can indeed be duplicated using the Conjuration Catalyst. Now, the next thing that I want to go over, I already touched upon this earlier, and it is the open crate. Now, the open crate, obviously, when you put items into the open crate, they are dropped immediately out of the bottom of it into the world. There is one additional feature on top of that as well, and that is that whenever you apply a redstone signal to that open crate, items that are dropped out of it are prevented from being picked up by mystical Flora for a total of 10 seconds. So yeah, there's a delay if you don't want plants to pick up your thing. The next thing, though, is the elven upgrade on the open crate, which happens to be called the crafty crate. And the crafty crate is able to... it has 9 spaces in its internal inventory, although you can't view them in a GUI. And basically, you fill up a crafting grid shape inside of the crafty crate using a crafting placeholder for places where you need empty spaces. And it will create, once it's full, it will drop out the item and any placeholders that were required for its creation. You do have to insert the items in order. They go like this block, this block, this block, this block, this block, this block, blah, blah, blah. So they fill in from left to right and top to bottom. And so basically, as you can see here, I'm going to fill in diamond, 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 blank, stick, blank, blank, stick, blank. And I'm going to make myself a diamond pickaxe. As you can see, there are ingredients for 4 diamond pickaxes in here. Let's just flip this lever and let it go. And you'll see whenever it is done creating the first diamond pickaxe, it gives me back my crafting placeholders and the diamond pickaxe. So there's another diamond pickaxe, there's another diamond pickaxe. But where is the 4th diamond pickaxe? Well, as a matter of fact, if you paid attention, you would know that I didn't have enough crafting placeholders. I could place 1 crafting placeholder back in here and finish the crafting recipe that way, but you can also, if there are items in here, manually finish the crafting recipe by right-clicking with your Wand of the Forest. Don't worry, you won't lose your items if it isn't an actual recipe. The worst thing that can happen is your items will come out the other end uncrafted in a big pile. The next thing we're going to look at that is an elven upgrade is the Drum of the Gathering, and basically when you strike the Drum of the Gathering with a mana burst, it is going to shear nearby sheep and cause nearby cows to eject milk from their udders into buckets that may be standing below them. So I'm just going to do that, and you hear a nice note, and all the sheep are naked, and yeah, that's that. The next thing that we're going to look at is called the Life Imbuer, and long story short, you know how monster spawners only work if you are within a given radius, a 16-block radius of that monster spawner? Well, the Imbuer here actually will, once I have moved far enough away, I think, hang on, you know what, I'm not sure, is this a redstone thing? No, it's not yeah, it is. So basically, I'm going to put some mana in this Life Imbuer, and then I'm going to move away. And basically, even though I am outside of the range of that spawner, the life imbuer, as you can see from the particle effects, still has power. And actually, the spawner basically considers a human to still be there, a player to still be there. So I don't see those particle effects anymore. It must have spawned a pig of some variety. I'm going to swing in here and get rid of this spawner because I don't like it. And we're going to take a look at what happened here. So we've got a bunch of weird pigs here. This is a bug, I think, that I noticed. It did the same thing in 151, so I guess it hasn't been noticed or fixed yet. But basically, these pigs are kind of static. They can be killed. As you can tell, that's a critical hit. And, like, it is dead. The pig is dead. So, like, if I log out of this world and log back in, and as you can see, the damage indicators mod is doing something weird. So maybe that's a conflict. I'm not certain. But it seems like the life imbuer, whenever the life imbuer summons a mob, it messes up. So that seems to be an unfixed bug at this current time. Okay, so the next thing that I want to go over is the red string. And the red string is a material that you can create out of pixie dust. Basically, the red string can then be used in a number of recipes. Red string container, red string dispenser, red string neutrifier, red string comparator, and red string spoofer. And these blocks are all right here. And basically, this is the red stringed container. And basically, the red string is like a Destiny Bond link, so to speak. So if I use my Wand of the Forest, you'll see that there's a red string coming out of this red dot on this red string container and connecting to this chest, which means that this red stringed container actually acts like that chest. If you were to insert items using a hopper or a hopper hawk, for example, I think that should work. Yeah, so the hopper hawk took that bone meal and put it in this chest because it actually put it in this block, and this block essentially acts like this chest. You can use this block, and if you put an item into this block, it goes into that chest. The next one is the red stringed dispenser. It has the same effect as previous. So if I were to take, say, some arrows like this, and let's just get like a whole stack worth of them, and we start throwing some arrows on here, then those arrows will all be transferred to this inventory. This inventory actually happens to be that dispenser over there, as you can tell by the red string. Now, this red string face can face in any of the 6 directions, but it can only connect to a block that's directly in one of those 6 directions away from the red string block. The other thing that it does is it can actually pass on a redstone signal to a dispenser or dropper. So in this case, I'm just going to hit this. Yeah. And as you can see, the dispenser... Oh, wait. Okay, so apparently my hopper hawk put the arrows in the wrong inventory, even though this inventory is labeled with an item frame. All right, so that should do it. Basically, I'm going to take this and put arrows in this dispenser. Yeah, and it is going to actually do it right, looks like. Okay, good. So all those arrows are actually coming into this dispenser, believe it or not. Now, that is super cool in and of itself, but if I also apply, say, send a redstone signal through this block, ouch. My dispenser will receive that redstone signal. So, as you can see, I can just fire that dispenser remotely. I could have, like, I could have, like, the Ender Overseer sitting here, and I could just, like, look at it and activate this dispenser over here that way, for example. The next one is the red stringed neutrifier. It basically does the same thing, except for bone meal and plants. So it links up to any plant that can accept bone meal. If you use bone meal on it, it's like using bone meal on the plant that it is linked with. The next one is the red stringed comparator, and essentially it can link with anything that gives a comparator output, and it will mimic that exact comparator output. And finally, the red-stringed spoofer, which is a little bit different. You place any type of plant on top of it, and that plant's effect will not activate, but you actually place a plant somewhere else, which is the plant that you link to it, and that plant, including any flowers and mushrooms as of release 152, and this flower over here will actually have that flower's ability. So basically, it allows this flower to spoof this flower. And even if someone were to, say, remove this flower, it is still just a regular mystical white flower. They would have to track down where your red-stringed spoofer is coming from in order to steal your, like, potent flower of the Kanade thingy-majig. Oh, and there we go with another super convenient transition. This time, the spectral platform is the block, and it's made just like this out of pixie dust and dream wood, which, of course, is an Alfhomancy material. And now, obviously, the spectral platform is a little bit different than the abstruse platform in that you just fall straight through it. It basically doesn't exist. It has no physical self. There is no physical self to the spectral platform. So the final thing to cover in terms of Alfhomancy is new blocks added by new baubles added by Alfhomancy. So once you hit the Alfhomancy upgrade and you can use those Alfhomantic materials, you're able to make these new charms, and I'm going to go over those. First, we've got the Charm of the Diva. And basically, whenever you attack an enemy, they will become confused and shift their focus to other enemies. So let's get some, like, spawn eggs here, and let's spawn some zombos, just like this. And basically, I'm going to spawn, like, some zombos here, and I'll hit one zombo and hit the other zombo, and it doesn't work. Oh, do I have mana? No, I don't. Don't forget, these baubles actually require mana to operate. So, if you haven't got a mana tablet and you don't have any mana, then you are out of luck. So, but now it should work. So, as you can see, these two mobs are now angry at each other, and they want to kill each other because I hit them with my sword. It would work with my fist too, even, though, as a matter of fact, and that's the cool part. So, yeah, that's awesome, and, but basically over now. So, the next thing is the Cloak of Virtue, and the Cloak of Virtue, when damaged, it will block that damage, but there's a 10-second cooldown, so it only works once every 10 seconds. So if I, say, spawn a zombie here, I can let him hit me, and it absorbs all that damage, but the next time it doesn't. The Cloak of Sin has a similar 10-second cooldown, I mean to say. Oh, freaking zombie. And basically, the Cloak of Sin will take that damage that I take and emit it out in a radius to nearby mobs. And that was a really strange thing. Oh, never mind. That's not a strange thing. Actually, that zombie just has no idea how to react to a spectral platform. He was severely confused. So that's done, and that's done. Oh, wait. This is done, and this Cloak of Sin is done. The next thing we're going to look at is the Crimson Pendant, and the Crimson Pendant is much like one of the pendants that I went over earlier. However, it actually basically makes you totally immune to all lava and fire damage. You are totally heat resistant with the Crimson Pendant on. The Flugel Tiara is the next one, and it is absolutely, like, one of my favorites. Basically, the Flugel Tiara permits you to fly using mana. The basic Flugel Tiara is just that. It permits you to fly using mana. But there are other Flugel Tiaras as well. So if you wear, say, this Flugel Tiara, which is the Flugel Wings Tiara, you'll look like this, and that's just a cosmetic effect. It has the exact same powers of flight, the wings flap and all. You've got a bit of a halo going on. But basically, you just take the No Wings Flugel Tiara and you can cosmetically enhance it using any of the various types of cosmetic nether quartz that have been added from Botania. So yeah, that is pretty sweet. And that lets you fly while you're wearing it. Super awesome. The next thing I'm going to go over is the Globetrotter Sash. And as you can see, it makes you go extremely fast. It is like just super fast, insanely fast how fast you go with the Globetrotter's Sash. It's basically the Sojourner's Sash with upgraded speed. So you've got all of the like walking over 1 block increments and all those other effects. Increased jump height and jump resistance are also added effects. So very useful. Globetrotter Sash. The next one we're going to look at is the Golden Laurel Crown. And basically, long story short, the Golden Laurel Crown, I'm going to like, what can I do here? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take my Golden Laurel Crown off, and I'm going to fly using my Flugel Tiara. And then I'm going to equip the Golden Laurel Crown and not the Flugel Tiara. And your Golden Laurel Crown shatters as it saves you from death. It heals me back to full health and gives me basically immunity for a short period of time. So I'm totally immune right now. I can't be damaged. And it gives you some time to basically escape whatever kind of peril you may be in and get out of that situation. So yeah, the next one we're going to look at is the Great Fairy Ring. And the Great Fairy Ring, whenever you are hit, it has a chance to spawn an aggressive pixie familiar. Now, this is actually an ability that is shared by the entire elemental set, so I'm going to go over all those at the same time. And basically, for each piece that you have equipped at any given time, your chance of the effect happening increase. So that includes the Great Fairy Ring that I've just equipped, the 4 pieces of armor, elementium armor, that I've just equipped, and also the elementium sword. So at this point, if I take damage, there is a high probability that I will spawn a pixie that is very angry and will start retaliating against my enemies. Oh my god! Ah! Zombie rider chicken! Help! Okay. Alright, so yeah, this is gonna be good. So I'm currently immune to, like, everything. So hopefully I should be able to get this pixie to spawn and retaliate against my enemies. It looks like I made it happen there, but I'm not sure. I can't...
Immune to, like, everything. Immune to, like, everything. So hopefully I should be able to get this pixie to spawn and retaliate against my enemies. It looks like I made it happen there, but I'm not sure. I can't
tell. Apparently, there's a pixie that's really strong that retaliates against your enemies as a random effect that is increased in frequency based on how many pieces of elementium stuff you're using. So, the next thing is the Ring of Far Reach, and basically it lets you interact with blocks and entities from about 3 blocks farther away than your normal. So as you can see, if I just switch rings here, I can't see that chest with Wyla. If I switch back, I can. And that pretty much, that tells you everything you need to know about that right there. And that is all of those. Great. I'm gonna wear this Globetrotter sash because it's awesome. So finally, we're going to start going over Chapter 8, Mystical Items. And the first one that we're going to go over is one of my favorites, actually. It is called the Assembly Halo. And let me just get a couple of raw materials out here. Basically, I grabbed the Assembly Halo, and as you can see, there's this force field that pops up around me. If I right-click on Crafting Table, it'll bring up a crafting table, and I can craft something. So let's just call it a diamond shovel, for example. Now, as you can see, I can right-click to set the diamond shovel recipe on any of the blank spaces. So I can do it right there. And I could go in here and make another recipe, like, you know, the diamond sword, for example. And, oops. And, of course, or the, did I say sword? I meant pickaxe. And I could put the pickaxe there. I can come back in here and, you know, I can make some torches or whatever. And I can save those torches right there. And then all I've got to do is hover over the assembly halo, hit those torches, and as you can see from my inventory, it consumes the ingredients and makes the torches and puts them in my inventory for me. So you can fill up all these slots. The assembly halo is just awesome. Like, this is one of my favorite, this is definitely one of my favorite utilities from, like, any mod ever. Like, this is incredible. I mean, you could just, like, be like, yeah, give me all the torches, and just right-click on, spam-click your torch thing, you know? It's great and awesome, and I love it. The next thing I want to look at is the Hand of Ender, and basically it opens up your ender chest. If you click on another player, it's able to open another player's ender chest, but it costs way more mana. Goodness, this is slow. I want to do this a little bit faster, so I'm going to grab some of these items here that we're going to need, like this one, and, this one, Rod of the Seas, Rod of the Skies, Rod of the Terra Firma. Yeah, Rod of the Terra Firma, that's the one. Okay, and yeah, that should be about good. That should be about good. Okay, so I'm going to go through and show a couple of these. First, I want to show the Horn of the Wild, which does this. And that's pretty impressive. But next up is the Horn of the Canopy, which does the same thing for leaves. Then, we're going to take a look at the Rod of... No, I've missed something. Ha! I want this guy, the Mana Blaster. So, I'm going to use the Mana Blaster here. It actually, you can use it to shoot mana. Boom, like that. So, yeah, just like that. And as you can see, there's now mana in this mana pool. So, yeah. And then we've got the pasture seeds, which can be planted on dirt to create grass. The boreal seeds, which can be planted on dirt to create podzol. And the infestation spores, which can be planted on dirt to create mycelium. Finally, I've got the Rod of the Lands, which allows you to conjure and place dirt out of nothing but mana. And the Rod of Terra Firma, which will actually allow you to, yeah! Maybe it's not got enough power. I'm not sure. It's charging, it's working. So there we go. Okay, so the problem is that the rod actually doesn't function. Holy crap. What? Stop. What? Are you serious? Okay, so the rod doesn't function below sea level, which I guess is below me. So, yeah. I'm gonna go down a little bit. Little ways. There we go. Let's even this off a little bit. No! I don't want this to go out anymore. No! Okay, and I'm now too low for it to work. Okay, so that's that thing. I also had the Rod of Seas, and I was supposed to maybe, like, do something with it that wasn't what I did, but that's okay, because I'll just do it like this. Rod of Seas does this. Yep. Uh-huh. And it also does this. I need a petal apothecary. Yeah, you see, I should have tested that particular demonstration before attempting to do it live. Yeah, you can fill petal apothecaries like that. Yes. So, yeah, Rod of the Seas spawns water, and yeah, all this stuff basically is done. Did the Mana Blaster, did that, did Rod of the Lands, did Rod of the Seas, did Rod of the Terra Firma, the Horns I did. I've done all this stuff. I don't need any of this stuff anymore. Okay. Good. So the next couple things we're going to look at I'm going to want the Rod of the Plentiful Mantle on me, the Rod of the Hells on me. We're going to also grab this Terra Shatterer D rank and the Terra Shatterer SS rank, as well as the Vitreous Pickaxe. I don't need that anymore. Vitreous Pickaxe is basically cheap Silk Touch for glass. Don't worry about it. And this Living Wood Slingshot, some Vine Balls, the Terra Blade, and I'm also going to grab some of these items from the Elven upgrade. So I'm going to want the Rod of Bifrost, the Rod of the Highlands, the Rod of the Shaded Mesa, and the Unstable Reservoir. I want all those. These guys. I want this bucket. And yeah, that should be good. Okay. So the next thing I want to show is the Rod of where's the other rod? The Rod of the Highlands. So the Rod of the Highlands is actually able to place dirt blocks in air at a higher mana cost than the Rod of Lands. Okay, so what I really want to use here, though, is the Wand of the Bifrost, and I just want to face in the direction that I'm headed and right-click, and it will create a rainbow bridge up to 100 blocks long that will last for 15 seconds. As you can see, that is actually kept track of by the bar on the item. So, yeah. I'm just gonna, well, I could if I wanted to at this, like, right here, right now, you know, I could try climbing over this with some vine balls. If I just throw this vine ball, it'll create some strong vines, which I can climb. But instead, I'm just gonna mine right through it. The Terra Shatter here is quite a good pickaxe. So, oh my. Wow, that's something. Wow, that's something. Wow, wow, wow. I cannot believe that. So what I wanted to show you there was the elementium pickaxe has a special effect where it actually simply destroys cobblestone and other mundane materials. There's also the elementium shovel has a special ability. Whenever it targets a gravity-based block like sand or gravel, it'll destroy all of that block above it. Although, it won't go from destroying sand to destroying gravel or vice versa. Oh, there's a creeper right there in front of me. And I'm going to hit him with this elementium axe before he blows up. And there's a chance, of course, whenever I use this axe that, goodness. Okay, so apparently I'm now terrible at killing creepers. I'm shit at this. I can't kill creepers. I'm so bad at killing creepers that I just can't anymore. Anyway, the elementium axe is supposed to have a chance of dropping heads whenever you kill a player using it. So yeah, that's quite the interesting effect there. Now where is that other rod I'm looking for? There's a rod of something or other, Rod of the Plentiful Mantle, this one. So I get this weird feeling like I missed some important ores back here. So I'm gonna use the Rod of the Plentiful Mantle, and it will actually highlight nearby ores. And it actually highlights them by color, and I happen to know that over here is a bunch of diamond. So, yeah, the Rod of the Plentiful Mantle basically will create some particle effects that glow through walls by nearby ores. And I think it's based on the map color, but I'm not sure. I really don't know, so don't take my word for it or anything. I'm just gonna let these guys blow up. I am wearing full elementium, aren't I? Yeah, so I've got quite the resistance going. So, boom! That's super explosion. And I keep seeing these pink particles, which I think are the retaliatory effect of the elementium. So, but I'm not sure. And I'm just going to pitch... Oh, wait, this Terra Shatterer. Right, I wanted to show you this as well. So this is the highest rank Terra Shatterer, and basically... I thought it did something. Okay, yeah, now it's in powered mode. And in powered mode, it does that. Yeah. So that's the Terra Shatterer. And if you didn't just crap your pants, your money back. Also works on dirt and anything in a huge, huge radius. So obviously I could just start digging. I could dig like that. And that would be a terrible idea, obviously. But I could turn my Shatterer off when I'm done and... Okay, so let's do Rod of the Skies. Now, I'm gonna need this. Yeah, so let me get that Rod of the Skies going on here, and I'll just use it to... Oh, wait. I guess it's got a... cooldown. So, but it also makes you temporarily immune to the fall damage, so you don't have to worry about that. Hey, look, there's another creepy. Hi, creepy man! Okay. So, I am now going to take this Terra Blade and... oh, what's this? The Shard of Laputa. This is another one I wanted to go over. And basically, I'm going to go over it right here. And so basically, you can take the Shard of Laputa. Ah, no, I'm under attack. I'm under assault. Under assault. Under assault. Under assault. Ah. No. Okay, so that was fun and all, but I'm gonna take the Shard of Laputa and actually use it, like, right, And as you can see, there is a huge, there's now a process going on, which is actually going to move all of the blocks here up there. Now, I'm wondering whether my red string items are gonna work exactly the same way, and how that's gonna work, but I think they should work properly. Hopefully that dispenser went too. So yeah, this is what the Laputa does. And basically, yeah, all this stuff is just gonna come up here. And as you can see, the whole thing is being rebuilt up here, just like you can see. Oh my. Goodness. So that's really something. That's really fun. Hey, wait, does that work? Oh my. Okay. So it does, of course, work. Yes. Now, I'm going to show you some of the cool effects that you can get from this other stuff. So, I'm going to come up here, and let's see. I'm going to look at my list, because I've lost track now. So, the next thing I want to show you is the Rod of the Shaded Mesa. And long story short, this will allow me to pick up a mob or entity, basically. And I can then drop it. Or I can, like, throw it, for example. So I could pick up a zombie, I think. It's supposed to work. It's supposed to be able to pick up a zombie. Yeah, so I can pick up a zombie, and I could use the Rod of the Shaded Mesa and aim that zombie this way and throw it like that with a left click. So that's pretty cool. It's sort of like a gravity gun, long story short. That's super cool. Okay, I'm very pleased with the way that this works. Now, this is the kind of magic that I want. Ta-da! Okay, so yeah, then there is, of course, the Rod of the Plentiful Mantle. and that, or the rod of the unstable reservoir. Yeah, and basically, this is gonna fire lots of homing magic missiles. Whee! And so they get fired like straight up from me, and then they go and home in on whatever. And now there's no more monsters around. Wow. Oh, wow. That's actually surprisingly effective. Although I can only imagine it must have consumed quite a large amount of mana. So let's give that another go. Yeah, look at that. That's awesome. So I've just got magic missiles raining down and homing in on individual mobs. That's awesome. Okay. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go over, we are winding down and there are not too many unique features left. Next thing we're going to look at is going to be the extrapolated bucket. And long story short, the extrapolated bucket is a void bucket. Basically, you can take and just spread around as much water as you want with this Rod of the Seas. And if you just get in there and hold right-click with the extrapolated bucket, you are basically just gonna eat all that water fast as you can. So yeah, that's basically that thing and what it does. Other than that, there's also a cool little device known as the life aggregator. And basically what this will allow you to do is you can... Let's grab a monster spawner, because I didn't have quite a... Okay, so you can take the life aggregator, right-click on a monster spawner with it, and you will absorb that monster spawner. You can then use the life aggregator again to place it somewhere, but that will destroy your life aggregator if you're not in creative mode. This is called the Soul Scribe. It doesn't last very long, very low durability, but it's super good against Enderman. The Terra Blade has the ability to occasionally fire out sword. That's basically a beam that deals as much damage as your regular melee attack. And it will just randomly, occasionally fire those, and yeah, it's pretty powerful, almost OP if it didn't require such intense requirements to get it. So yeah, I have more or less, I think I've gone over pretty much everything. I think I've missed just a couple of objects, but now I'm winding down. We're gonna go into basically just the miscellaneous chapter category. Right here, these are the azuleo. They are quartz and lapis blocks with tileable designs on them that you can use for decoration, and they look nice. These are all the decorative blocks that you can make out of living wood and living rock. These are the decorative blocks made out of the various types of quartz, which you can make. This is reed, a material made out of sugarcane. This is thatch, a material made out of wheat. This is roof tile, a material made out of brick. And this is hellish brick, made out of netherrack. This is soul brick, made out of soul sand. And this is frosty brick, made out of snow block. Now, you can also imbue glowstone dust into your mystical flowers to make them into glimmering flowers, and these flowers actually emit as much light as a block of glowstone do. And you can also combine the glimmering version of any given flower with a... okay, and basically... you make those out of the flour, a block of dirt, and some pasture seeds to give it grass, I guess. And that's all you need for that. Now, as you can see, this Kekimuris works just like it normally does. It'll still eat cake and produce mana. It's still got an internal mana reservoir, and it can still output mana to other blocks. So the flowers that are done this way, while they may look very cosmetically cool, still serve their same functions. These are basically back imported versions of Prismarine blocks from Minecraft 1.8. This is my friend, the Tiny Potato. He loves you and believes in you, and that's all I can figure out about him. This is an unstable cube, which is crafted just like this, and comes in all 16 color flavor varieties. and this is its bigger brother, the unstable beacon. Now, the unstable cube and unstable beacon, basically these effects are only for cosmetic purposes. So this unstable cube, that just makes cosmetic lightning flashes. The unstable beacon, it just does this cosmetic thing, which is really weird. I guess the way that Vazkii describes it in the Botania Lexica Botania is the best way to describe it, and if you want to find that out, just look it up for yourself. So yeah, that looks pretty neat. It works as a beacon. It definitely, you can definitely use it to, you know, follow to the source of the beacon. There is also an item version of this unstable beacon called the signal flare. So I can, boom, shoot the signal flare up in the air, and it'll do that. And it'll actually also stun mobs in the nearby vicinity for a short period of time. There is one final item which I had to add here at the very end because it was only added just before I started recording this video, which is hours ago now. And it is called Trodden Dirt. Trodden Dirt is basically, it's shorter than a regular block like soul sand, and you run faster when you're on it. And it's for making, you know, natural looking paths that look like, you know, they've been beaten down by people walking on them. And of course you walk slightly faster while you're doing that, although you might not be able to tell because of my sash that is equipped. But yeah, for the most part, that is basically what I've got for you in the Botania mod. Botania is this is now one of my favorite mods. Like, there's so much in this mod. So thank you for watching my mod review of Botania by mod maker Vazkii, and I hope that you have enjoyed it and learned something. If you've got any questions or concerns, feel free to leave those in the comment section below this video. And if there's anything that I missed, you can let me know down there as well. So, we're going to move on to Chapter 3, in which I cover generating Flora. Damn it, I've done that wrong. So we are going to move on to Chapter 4, in which I cover functional Flora. This is my friend, the Tiny Potato. He loves you and believes in you, and that's all I can figure out about him. Flying golems, yeah! Woo!